Hello and welcome to Endurance Minded. It's the podcast that aims to redefine what it means to reach our full potential by exploring how movement and mindset impacts our lives and how we can all work to show up as the best versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Taylor Thomas, founder at TEC, and before we get started, I've got an all call. If you're a coach or an entrepreneur in the health and fitness industry who's trying to grow your business without burning out, I want to personally invite you to apply for the Growth Circle. The Growth Circle is our business accelerator program at TEC, and it's designed specifically to serve providers like you in the health and fitness industry. People who are incredible at what they do, but they need a proven framework and real support to actually scale. Let's be real, running a coaching business can feel like a grind. You're juggling programming and client communication, marketing, admin work, and somehow you're still trying to grow your business. That's where the Growth Circle comes in. Inside the program, we help you nail down your ideal client and get really clear on what your offer is. We help you build a consistent lead gen process so you're not wondering where your next client comes from. We help you improve your sales skills without feeling salesy. And most importantly, create systems and support so that you're not doing it alone. You'll be a part of a driven community of other business owners in this space who get it. We host regular group calls, team intensives, mastermind sessions to make sure you're never stuck trying to figure it out in a silo. So if you're tired of winging it, if you're tired of trying to do it all by yourself, to recreate the wheel, figure out what levers to pull, what's broken and what's not, if you're ready to turn your passion into a business that actually works for you, I want to invite you to apply. You can find the link to the Growth Circle in our show notes. And I want you to really think about what's best for you and your business. I want you to think about how your business can really make an impact on the industry and how it can give you the life that you're excited about and make the money that you deserve, working with the clients that you love, spending time investing in the things that you care about and you're passionate about. So if this is a problem you're committed to solving and you want to take your business to the next level, again, click the link in the show notes. I can't wait to hear from you. Hello and welcome back. I'm going to kick today off with a question. And I want to pose, what if the fastest way to succeed was actually the slowest? What if our marker for success and our measure of whether or not something is working or isn't working or is worth our time or energy and resources isn't defined by how quickly it happens, but actually how slowly it happens, and more specifically, what we learn in the process, who we get to become in the process. And my working thesis is that playing the long game, it's not just a strategy, it's actually an advantage. So if you are an individual, if we can become someone who actually recognizes the value in the long game and even seeks it out, it's actually an advantage because of all of the opportunities it affords us. And so we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how the long game is actually the equation. It's the necessary piece of the puzzle that builds sustainable success. In a world that is literally obsessed with quick results, with 90-day plans to fitness, to have a six-pack, to build your business, to get the career that you want, to communicate effectively, to build relationships, to whatever it is, in a world that is obsessed with promising quick results and the speed and expediency in which we can reach those results is the only marker of success, I would like to posit that that's actually getting in the way. That a hyperfixation on speed is the only marker for success is the thing that's actually holding us back. And so today we're going to break down, one, why does that matter? Why is that framework? Why is speed something that is actually detrimental to our success? And how can we reframe so that we can play the proverbial long game? So wherever you're at right now, whatever it is that you're trying to push forward, whether it's fitness, whether it's your career, your business idea, I imagine that you want that thing to happen quickly. And by all means, let's work like hell to get the thing done. But I want you to also think about what it would look like to just settle in, to recognize that the value of the process and who we get to become and the things that we learn en route to the success that we actually reach, to the goals that we actually accomplish, is actually the value. It's not the thing. It's not the thing at the end of the road. It's not crossing the finish line. And so when we rush that and when we package that to mean that how fast we get there is the only measure of success, it really belittles and diminishes the entire experiences. Because ultimately, if we're lucky enough, we get to stay at it for a long time. If we're lucky enough, we get to continue to play the game. That's the goal, is to keep doing it. And so we're going to reframe and we're going to rework and we're going to reposition some of these things that I think hold us back. We're going to talk about that today, and you're going to walk away with a new perspective on how to frame the timelines and your expectations around those in your life. So first, let's talk about the cultural obsession with quick wins. Let's talk about this just relentless onslaught of everyone wanting to make it happen quickly. Right? We don't have to, it's no stretch to arrive at social media first, right? The external expression, the final pretty thing that everyone posts, the perfect house, the business that's successful, the crossing the finish line, the, story of how we got there. But we all know that it whitewashes over everything that happened to get there, right? The highlight of how we glorify the kind of quote unquote instant success and ultimately the incredible thief of joy that comes with the comparison trap of when we see that, thinking like we are behind, thinking like we don't have enough, feeling like, well, why am I different? Why am I not as successful as this person? Why is it taking me so long? Am I not smart enough? Am I not strong enough? Am I not committed enough? The list goes on. And so this incredible weight that has been placed on all of us, I think, in a lot of ways, no matter where you're at in this conversation or ecosystem, I think we have to start by just recognizing that. And we have to just call it out, I think, that it is BS. Right? The overnight success, quote unquote, was not overnight. There was all kinds of factors that led to that. The person that crossed the finish line that looks similar to you or you feel like has a similar backstory, but seems to be doing so much better or is making it all fit in so much more cleanly or is more fit than you are. There's a backstory there. It's not clear cut because there is no way to expedite the process. Things just take time. Now, of course, we can position ourselves to accelerate our growth, to accelerate how we reach our goals. So I'm not advocating that we have to sit in ambiguity forever or things have to take unnecessarily long. But this idea of this overnight success, this instant progress is just complete BS. And so let's start by just recognizing that so that we can unpack and unwire how it is that we think about progress. And I think part of this is a sense of false urgency, right? Whether it's launching the business or fitness goals or how we reach our, how we connect with people. it's these cycles that promise unrealistic timelines. Right? Again, in a culture that is obsessed with overnight wins, with overnight success, the big flashy thing, that what we're being sold is unrealistic timelines. Again, we're fast forwarding, we're only seeing the end. And the problem with speed, why this is an issue, again, because I'm not saying that if you can do it quicker, that's great. The problem here, what I want to unpack is our mental framework around an obsession with speed versus an acceptance and an excitement around and for the long game, for staying in it. Right? So the problem with speed is that fast wins, when we get them, because they can happen, it sets unrealistic benchmarks that ultimately we just can't sustain. Right? We have that thing that happens quickly, like, oh, that was good. It's not going to always be like that. So one of the problems with fast wins is it sets unrealistic benchmarks. It also really diminishes the foundational skills and the building required to do anything of substance. Let me break that down. So when we focus on quick fixes, when we focus on fast wins, what we're doing is we're fast forwarding through the foundational skill building part of the thing that we need to be good at. Right? It is the process that teaches us how to be better when we get to the goal. It's the things that we learn en route to our goal that give us the ability to actually accomplish the goal. If we're where we're at now and we just got plopped down at the end of the road and we reached our goal, we wouldn't be able to enjoy that goal. We wouldn't be able to sustain it, right? If I'm where I'm at right now, let me use fitness as an example. And I say, I want to run a marathon, but here I am right now. And let's say I've never run a marathon. So in some fairy tale world where I'm able to just get plopped down at the end of the marathon, my body literally can't handle it, right? The only way that I can accomplish that goal is to settle in, is to play the long game. It's the foundational skill building, right? I have to learn how to do it. The same thing applies in every area of your life. If you just get plopped at the end of the career that you want, you haven't built the skills. You don't have the know-how. You don't have enough water under the bridge. The business that you want, you have to settle in. It's sets and reps. Everything requires sets and reps. And so when we think about the cultural obsession with quick wins, I want to use that as a framework. Again, we have this hyperfixation on the glorification of instant success. We have the relentless comparison trap of looking at others externally and comparing ourselves to them. And that is the ultimate thief of joy. We have this constant feeling of false urgency that the thing needs to happen faster, right? It's the business, it's the fitness, it's all unrealistic timelines. And then ultimately the problem with that is it shortchanges us, right? It leaves us in a deficient space because we don't have the skills, the know-how, the mental, emotional capacity to handle the thing that we say that we want when it happens too quickly. When we fast forward through that foundational skill building part of things. So let's talk about how we build a mindset for success. Let's talk about how we settle in. And we've talked a lot about endurance, right? That's the name of this podcast. Obviously, some of our previous episodes have been around this idea of how do we actually use endurance as a skill for life? It's something that I'm purposefully leaning into because the name of this podcast didn't happen by accident. Right? How do we be endurance minded? How do we think about ourselves and the skills that we build through the lens of building the ability to endure? Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, in all areas of our lives. And so endurance is really the ability to sustain effort through changing conditions And that applies to everything, right? So let's just zoom out. Let's just say, okay, my goal is to be able to navigate whatever comes at me in all of the dynamics and nuances that life presents, despite the changing conditions. And I just want to work on that. That's what I want my marker of success to be, is I want to be resilient. I want to have an endurance mindset. And if we think about things that way, I think that really shifts our ecosystem. It shifts the landscape in which we're able to see ourselves and how we're placed amongst these goals and the things that we want to accomplish. And I want to use a few just parallels here. So let's think about the mindset piece through the lens of sport. So if we just went hard all the time, we would burn out, right? Anyone who's listening, who's ever done anything athletically, you know that if you just go hard all the time, if you wake up every single morning and you push yourself and you do a super hard workout every day, that doesn't last very long. You have to take a break, right? The same thing applies when we're taking a long game approach, right? I can't wake up and just put my foot on the gas every single day and go, go, go. I'll get too tired, right? If we think about it again through the lens of sport, we have the training philosophy that is periodization, which is the ebb and flow of training stress such that it's balanced and allows our bodies to compensate appropriately for the stress, which then builds fitness. We know that fitness actually doesn't happen during the training. Fitness is built during rest, right? When our body compensates for the stress that's been applied and then creates fitness on the other side of that, or as a positive adaptation and stress response. It's the same thing in life. Anything that you want to do, right? The skill is not built during the thing. The skill is built on the other side of it. We say, oh, interesting. I see now how I had to change, how I had to learn a new skill, how I had to adapt and apply this new approach. If we rush through that, it's not going to work, right? We have to, again, it's sets and reps. If we think about this through the lens of business, not every quarter is going to be a record breaker, right? We're not going to continue to go up and out always. There's going to be dips. Even the best, most successful, high growth companies, all the things that we look at on the internet, the companies that seem to be quote unquote crushing it, I promise you behind the scenes, there's dips, there's lags, there's uncertainty, there's disruption. It doesn't just go up and out. So when we stay committed without consistent validation, and I think that's the key piece, right, is how do we continue to stay focused, to stay committed, to hone our energy, to hone our effort despite consistent influx or inflow of external validation? Because that's really what we're talking about, is the fast win is focused on this external validation, right? We want the win because the benchmark feels really good. I reached the goal. I did the thing. Great. Tell me I'm good. Let me know that it's working. The long game is inherently absent of that consistently, and so it doesn't feel as good. It doesn't feel as reassuring. But when we think about delayed gratification, or when we delay gratification, it's ultimately for bigger and more meaningful outcomes. Those small wins, those sexy overnight successes, those things that we say that we want actually aren't as meaningful. So delayed gratification as a skill ultimately gives us the mindset that allows us to really recognize the true wins. So we've talked about this kind of, again, overarching framework, this overarching obsession culturally with short-term success. We've talked about how endurance as a mindset can really start to shift the framework. Before we go into tactical solutions, I want to talk a little bit about the risks of playing the short game. Because you might be at this point saying, well, Taylor, that all sounds well and good, but if I can make it happen faster, let's do it. I don't need to bolster my ability to sit in delayed gratification. I'm fine with the small wins. I'm fine with the quick, sexy thing that just keeps me excited and is the external validation, that outcome-based win. So I want to walk through why really short-term thinking is expensive. It's expensive in energy. It's expensive in your reputation. And ultimately, it is expensive in the results that you get or don't get. So there's a handful of key areas here that it's going to really impact you. Right? Again, I'm talking about the risks of playing the short game. First one's burnout. I talked about this a little through the lens of athleticism, but ultimately, sprinting without recovery leads to collapse. Just think about it. Think about an actual sprint. If you walk out your door right now, how far can you go? Flat out sprint. Not very far. I don't care how fit you are. You're not making it that far. So if you sprint without recovery, collapse is ultimately the only thing that you're going to get. So we think about the short term. If we think about if that's how we set up our life, if that's how we frame everything. I want to do this event. How fast can I do it? I want to do this race. How quickly can I get in shape? I want to build this skill set. How fast can I do it? Build this business, advance my career, whatever it is. Collapse is the only thing that really is on the other side of that. Right? It's not if, but when. So burnout is inevitable. And I think if we're really being honest with ourselves, we would all admit that ideally what we would like to do is continue to do the thing. I always say fitness is an incredible byproduct of exercise, but it's not the thing I'm chasing. What I'm chasing is building a body that has the capacity to continue to engage, to continue to have experiences for the rest of the life that I'm afforded the opportunity to live. And the fitness that I get on the other side of that is a really nice thing to have. But it's not what I'm chasing. What I'm chasing is the ability to continue to do it day after day for hopefully a very long life. So burnout is really the only thing that we're going to be delivered when we think about speed as a primary metric. Next is we're going to compromise quality. So when we try to do anything fast, rushing sacrifices two really key components. It sacrifices depth and it sacrifices trust. Trust with ourselves and trust with others. Ultimately, that's the currency that we're dealing in. In today's world, in a world that is inherently, again, specific to this topic of short-term, external-facing wins and celebrations and quick overnight success, that is extremely shallow. So building trust is the currency in which we should be focused on, because that's the thing that's hard to come by. So when we compromise quality because we're rushing to the end, we're sacrificing the two most important things that actually help us accomplish our goals, which is depth and trust. Trust in ourselves, trust with others, the depth in which we build relationships, the depth in which we understand what we're capable of, the depth in which we're able to reflect and process and get smarter and grow and adapt and shift our identity to make sure that we're always evolving. Next is, and I'm going to use this as an overarching term, but I want you to think about just however this applies to you. Brand erosion. So this is your personal brand. This is the brand of your business. We all have a brand. Even if you're not, I'm not talking about if you're an influencer. I'm talking about your brand as how you show up in the world, how you present. Right? And so when we take a short-term approach, it erodes our brand. Right? It confuses our audience, because what do we care about? Do we care about connection? Do we care about our growth? Do we care about building trust, or do we just care about doing it quickly at a very high cost? Right? So your personal brand, again, how you present in the world, and we could certainly, this applies to if you're a business owner, if you are someone who is developing a personal brand externally, there's a piece of that too. But let's just think about it as it confuses people and it erodes trust because people aren't sure what you actually care about. And that's a real problem. Lastly, you lose momentum. So if you are chasing quick wins often, it means you're abandoning the strategies that have worked before. You're also abandoning the strategies before they have time to work. So you're rebuilding constantly. You're recreating the wheel all the time. You're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, where you're not giving anything enough time to stick. I see this so much in business with folks that I have the opportunity to work with, is you just have to do it enough. You don't know if it's working or not working. You just got impatient and you're trying something else. You got to lean in longer, harder, go deeper. Don't do it for 6 days. Don't do it for 60 days. Do it for 6 months. Do it every day. Then you know if it works. Build the strategy. Build that foundational framework. Same thing with fitness. Don't switch up your workouts every day, every week, every month. Lean in, right? Do it enough to know what works. So you lose momentum when you change the strategy consistently. Things respond to consistent effort over long periods of time. I don't care if you're talking about business or you're talking about your body. That's what moves the needle. You have to use a consistent strategy for a long enough period of time. Otherwise, the momentum is going to be severely disrupted. All right. So now we've got the stage set. Hopefully you see now why this is a problem, right? What it actually costs you when short-term success is your main marker. And now we're going to talk about a new framework. How do we build your long game? And the key piece here, the key idea that I want you to cling to is that long-term success is a skill. It's a skill like anything else. It's a skill like building fitness. It's a skill like building our mental and emotional intelligence. It's the process to arrive here is the same. It's a skill that has to be worked. So I'm going to give you 5 things that I want you to think about in this framework. If you have your phone, if you have a notepad, if you have something, write this down. Take notes. This is how you're going to make this happen. First, clarify the horizon. Where are you going? This is often why I think so many of us shift to relying on short-term success, because we don't know where we're going. We don't have a clear idea of the horizon, so the only thing that we can cling to is the wins today, because we're not building towards something meaningful in the future. What does that look like? I want you to define your 3 to 5 year vision. Not just a 3-month goal, not just your 90-day sprint, not just your quick, 6 weeks to abs, whatever it is. I want you to define your vision 3 to 5 years out. Right? This is your overarching, this is your target, the thing that you're working towards. How do you show up in the world? What's your vision? And then ask yourself, if I achieve this in 5 years, would I still be proud? Right? So clarify the horizon. Where are you going? What is your work in service of? So the thing that you're doing right now, the thing on your calendar, the goal, how does that build towards something more meaningful? Because it can't just be this. This can't be the finish line. Again, hopefully we get the opportunity to continue to engage. So let's keep building. 3 to 5 year vision, clarify the horizon. Number 2, build the foundation. This is the piece that gets shortchanged, like we talked about. We move past this because we're focused on speed. So I want you to focus on building your base, your strength, your ability to rest. These are the foundational pieces of playing the long game. You have to build the systems, the relationship, the trust required to stay in it. right? Again, work the strategy. So I want you to build the foundation. I want you to really focus on the foundational pieces required. And I'll take it even one step further. I want you to write down what you think they are. What are the top 3 to 5 things that you think are foundationally required for you to be in service of your vision for the next 3 to 5 years? What are the deeper skills? Who do you have to be? What's the shift in your identity? How do you need to show up on a daily basis so that the long game is your default? Number 3, I want you to pace yourself. I want you to pace the effort. I want you to create cycles of intensity and recovery. Again, you can't be foot on the gas all the time. Like we said, if you walk out your door right now and you sprint, how long are you going to last? That's not our approach anymore. We're going to pace ourselves. So I want you to map that out. There are times of really intense work. Again, I'm not arguing that the intensity isn't there. It's just not intensity at all costs, and it's not intensity in the direction of a finite finish line. It's intensity because you know that stacking those bricks one by one is going to lead you in the direction of a larger vision, right? It's just not pedal to the gas for the next 6 weeks. It's, okay, I can work hard. I can move in this direction, but I'm also going to make sure that I'm not burning myself out and I have strategic periods of rest so that I can continue to play the long game. Number 4, I want you to measure what matters. So I want you to focus on leading indicators, right? These are things like habits, consistency over these short-term spikes. So how are you, again, building these foundational pieces that actually stack towards the success that you want in the long term? How are you showing up on a daily basis? How are you consistent over long periods of time? Not just I exercise every day this month. How did I show up for the year? What's the sum total of my effort? And then I also, the more granular version of that or layer of context is I want you to celebrate milestones, not just your finish lines, right? So I want you to look for the wins. What are the milestones? Again, specifically for consistency, for habit building and forming, for new mindsets, for shifts in your identity and how you define success. Recognize what that looks and feels like and celebrate those milestones. Number 5, I want you to protect your energy and resources. So, this is my favorite one. No is a complete sentence. So say no to opportunities that feel urgent or misaligned. So if you get pulled into things that are causing you to be reactive, to put your foot on the gas, to sprint, to not take that long-term view of success, check yourself. Maybe there's an opportunity to say no. Maybe there's an opportunity to pull back, to reframe. And I want you to really protect your energy and your resources. And I also want you to build a support network that keeps you accountable to the long game. So you're not going to surround yourself with people that sprint. You're not going to surround yourself with people that only tell the story at the end, that only highlight the quote unquote overnight success, but fail to mention the 10 years it took them to get there. You're going to surround yourself with people that are honest, that build trust, that share that depth of the experience and recognize the long game is what's important. So quick recap, 5 things that are your framework for how you can build the long game. Number 1, clarify the horizon. Number 2, I want you to build the foundation. Number 3, I want you to pace yourself in the effort that you're putting in. Number 4, I want you to measure what matters. And number 5, I want you to protect your energy and resources, and I want you to work on saying no as a complete sentence, meaning you don't have to qualify that statement. The answer is no, because it's not in alignment. So what I want you to take away here, if you walk away with nothing else, is I want you to recognize that the long game isn't slow. It's strategic. And the sooner you start, the sooner it pays off. So again, we're going to reframe time here. It's not that it's slow, it's strategic. I'm not moving slowly because I don't want to accomplish my goals. I'm not playing the long game because accomplishing these things in an appropriate timeline isn't important to me. I'm playing the long game because it's a strategic play that allows me to stack the pieces, allows me to move brick by brick, allows me to recognize what's working and what's not so that I can learn and grow, build the pieces required to continue to stay in the game. Because I know that if I just speed through that, it's a disservice to myself. I know that if I speed through that, I'm not going to really be the person that I want to be. I'm not going to get the answers. I'm not going to have built the skill sets and the mindset required to actually enjoy that at the end, enjoy where I'm at. So here's what I want you to think about. I'm going to leave you with a couple of questions. If you're still taking notes here, write these down. So there's a couple of reflection questions I want to give you. One, I want you to ask yourself, where am I chasing quick wins at the expense of sustainability? I want you to really identify this in your life. We all do it, right? I'm talking to you right now about this topic. I know there's areas in my life that I'm doing this. This is why I do this podcast, because I want to flatten the learning curve. I want you all, our incredible audience, to learn from the things that I'm processing, right? And I might just be a half a step ahead of you. And I hope at the end of this podcast, you're 2 steps ahead of me. So I want you to ask yourself, where am I chasing quick wins at the expense of sustainability? Second question, what could I commit to for the next 3 years that would change everything? This is a super powerful question because I don't know if you're like me. I wrote this down in preparation for this podcast and I paused. I said, 3 years. That's scary. It's scary to lean into that. It's scary to name it. It's easier to say 3 months. It's easier to even say a year. But I want you to really work to change your mindset because time moves quickly and 3 years is not much time. So what could I commit to for the next 3 years that would change everything? If I just settle in, if I just extend the time horizon, if I stop chasing the goal line, and we know that the goalpost is always moving 10 yards downfield. I've talked about that on previous episodes. It's the arrival fallacy. That's the phrase coined by Brad Stolberg and Steve Magnus. Go back into our archives. You can listen to that episode. But ultimately what that means is that when we get there, it's just not what we thought it was going to be. So the quick win is actually not what we want because we get there and there's another thing. The goalpost is 10 yards downfield. Downfield, always moving, always chasing. Let's just settle in. Let's adjust the timeline. What could I commit to for the next 3 years that would change everything? Let's just forecast that out. So, as always, I hope this is helpful. I hope you walked away with something that you can apply in your life right now. I want you to think about these questions. I want you to answer them. I want you to apply that 5-step framework. I want you to start to shift away from short-term success to play the long game, settle in, shift your mindset. Consistency stacked over long periods of time. It is always going to take longer, so let's just go ahead and forecast that out. So, if you like this episode, I'd love for you to share it with someone who you feel like might be in quote-unquote sprint mode right now. It might need to hear this. Someone that you know is running themselves ragged. Someone that you know is chasing short-term success and is not going to be happy when they get there. You know the long game is what they need. You know the shift is going to help them. So if you know that person, and I'm sure we all do, I'd love for you to send this to them. I want it to help. Share it with your friends, people that you think could find value in this episode. As always, I'd love for you to rate and subscribe. Our community is incredible. Ratings and subscriptions are the lifeblood of the podcast. When you rate, you would help us out tremendously. Let us know what you think. When you subscribe, you'll get alerted. New episode every other Tuesday. And we will release that without fail. We've never missed a week in the 7 years that we've been doing this podcast. It is an honor, and that's why I continue to show up in support of what we're doing here at Endurance Minded. You can also find us at enduranceminded.com. Let us know what you think. Leave us a comment at the bottom. What's working, what's not, how can we help? We build a lot of our episodes off of the feedback that we get at enduranceMinded.com. So I'd love to hear from you. And then lastly, just a quick little piece. We've been adding the Business of Coaching newsletter into the show notes. That's a newsletter that I put out for free every Friday morning. Talks about a lot of this stuff. And so if you're looking for more resources, just encourage you to click on that in the show notes. Again, you can subscribe for free every Friday morning. I put that out just as a value add, another resource for our community. And we're talking about everything from business to mindset to client acquisition strategies to, so if you're an entrepreneur, a coach, if you're in the health and wellness industry, if you're someone who's just hungry for more information, I just want to turn you on to that. Again, that's a free resource every Friday morning. We'll put the information to that in the show notes, and I'd love for you to be a part of that community as well. So thank you as always. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time on Endurance Minded.